So before we shortlist NGOs, we have a process where we decide internally what are the goals and aspirations we have in each sector. These sectors could be, for example, in India, sectors like health, like HIV, like TB, like mother and child health or sanitation. And once we are clear what we want to try and achieve, we in a way bid out by having RFPs to try and see who can apply. Sometimes we have open RFPs and everyone can apply. Sometimes what we do is we see that our projects are quite large typically, so we know that in the field there are barely 3 to 5 people who could actually try and run these large projects. In that situation, we would call these large players and set a limited RFP for 3 to 5 players. The criteria typically would be the experience you have in that sector, whether you've been able to run projects at scale, whether your previous projects have shown that they've achieved some impact, some lasting impact. Those are typically the criteria. I suppose our expectations are driven even before we even approach a grant or make a grant, is that we have internally what we call a theory of change, which says that for the change to happen, what needs to be in place. Do you believe that if the frontline workers have better tools and skills, then they'll deliver, or better motivation and supervision? So we both ourselves and not only ourselves, but we expect our grantees to be very clear about what causes that change. And if that is clearly laid out, then we feel more confident that the change will happen. The format of our proposal or RFP requires organizations to write it. So when we make the grant, we look at what they are saying that will lead to the change, and in a way that's similar to a log frame, that you say you'll do certain activities. Now the activities will result in certain outputs, and then those outputs will lead to outcomes. So as long as we can see a clear line between each of the three, and if the assumptions look reasonable on the activities, on whether the activities will lead to those outcomes or outputs, then that gives us some confidence that those changes will happen.